Our guest today is Steve Soderstrom, former Fresno State pitcher in the early 1990s. We'll get to that. But more recently, Steve is a proud father. His son Tyler recently named California's Gatorade Player of the Year, and he's projected to be a first-round draft pick. So, Steve, welcome. Go ahead, brag about your son for a little bit.
Well, I mean, he's put in a ton of work. I mean, that's the first thing I'll start with. Ton of work. Is he talented? Yes. I knew at a young age that he was going to be different, just with the kind of the hand-eye coordination. And he loves the sport, and he just continued to progress, and he's gotten better and better. And as he's gotten bigger and stronger, things have really taken off the last year.
So what specifically makes Tyler a good player? You mentioned the work ethic, but the ability, where does that come from? And it's okay to say yourself.
Well, we probably get, my wife probably says it comes from her. I'll say it comes from me. Now, I think he gets a little bit from on both sides. I was a pitcher, so he definitely has a good arm. His mom played a little bit of basketball in high school, so he is pretty athletic, and he plays he can play almost any position on the field. Yep. So very athletic. Play multiple spots, but his bat's is the game changer, I think. Crazy amount of power, squares the ball up a ton. Just his bat's going to will eventually get him there, but defensively he can play anywhere.
So with the draft right around the corner, going through this process with him, does it give you a feeling of deja vu?
It's a little different. A lot of Zoom meetings, just like we're doing here, just because of the whole COVID thing. So a lot of Zoom meetings, seeing 7 or 8, front office guys on the other side of the computer is definitely different. He spent, all fall with the in-home meetings. And so, we met with basically all 30 teams, trying to fit that into his schedule, school during that time, and also guys wanting to see him hit. It was a lot. And then now it's turned into the Zoom call. So if it's done anything, it's helped him, with his communication skills, definitely, because he's happened to be on meetings a lot.
So the projections have him somewhere in the teens, right? 11 through 15 for most of those mock drafts. Does Dad have bragging rights if he doesn't go higher than 6th?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about that starting about a year ago, and he said he was going to go higher than 6, and I told him he had no chance. He didn't take that too well. I said, it's just, it is what it is. I'm just a little bit better than you. And so, but it was all in fun. High school kid going in the top 15 picks would be great. Again, he's worked hard to earn it.
For you to go 6th overall back in 1993, you're the highest drafted Bulldog in Fresno State baseball history. Guys like Tom Goodwin, Bobby Jones, Aaron Judge recently, they don't hold a candle to where you got drafted. Do you ever think about that?
Yeah, it's an honor to be in that company with those guys. I mean, all those guys, if you look back on them, had, great careers, put up huge numbers. I had a big arm in college, threw hard. Scouts loved it. So you have to kind of take it as, the pro game is more driven on, some of it's driven on just, what are they going to project? And they projected with my arm to go a long way. And so, yeah, I went high in the draft, and of course it was exciting and fun, but those guys, some of those guys probably had a little better careers than me. But, I guess the draft was going off of what they thought was going to happen.
Steve, the draft now is an event, and we saw the NFL pull it off with a virtual draft recently. What was the draft like back in 1993 when it wasn't the televised monster that it has turned into?
No, not at all. I remember I was at my house in Turlock at my parents' house, just basically waiting by the phone. I think my agent called and said, "Hey, Steve, I think the Giants are going to take you with the next pick." So I kind of was prepped for it. And then you're waiting for a phone call. You're just kind of staring at the phone, which nowadays seems just odd, with all the technology we have. But sure enough, the call came, and Giants took me with their 6th pick. Of course, my dad was huge Giants fan, his whole life. And so it was it was special for him, and it was a big deal, and it was an exciting time. And, now with this draft, I think, we're going to have a camera in the home. So, it's completely different. It's going to be on MLB Network and ESPN. So completely different than what I went through.
Well, the path that you made at Fresno State, you got to go to the College World Series as a freshman in 91. In 92, you led the team in ERA. What stands out to you about your time at Fresno State looking back on
I just remember how good of teams we had and the players we had, and of course, the coaching staff. I mean, we went, each year we had a chance to go to the World Series. I think we lost to Pepperdine in 92, and they ended up winning the World Series that year. And I think in 93, we were literally an out away from going. So it was just the guys, you never forget the guys you played with, and that was always special. And then, with Bob, how much he taught me, as a player and as just a person. Never forget it. Maybe at the time, we always didn't see eye to eye, but when you get older and you realize the stuff he taught you and how tough he made me for the future, getting into pro ball was something I would never change. Just such a great baseball mind. That's the thing that I take from that. But, and man, he won so many games and was such a leader in the Fresno community.
Steve, being in Turlock, you're close to Fresno. Do you still follow the program?
Yeah, I mean, I follow as, a little closer now just because my older ones played with a few guys on the team. So this year we went to the first series against UC Irvine, watched a couple games. It was nice being back in the stadium. And actually, when I came back when I was with the Giants, we actually played at Bob Bennett Field there for a couple of years too. So it was just being able to show my kids where I played and just, reliving all the memories I had there. I mean, ton of memories.
Yeah, because you did play for the Fresno Grizzlies, and that transitions into my next question, the road to the major leagues. What was it like going through minor league ball, and then you did make it to the majors? So to achieve your dream, I guess, from the start of getting drafted to the next phase to ultimately making it to the majors, what was that whole process like?
It was definitely a bumpy road. Obviously, it was a high pick out of Fresno State. Within 6 months, had arm surgery, had an aneurysm in my shoulder. And from then on, it was a bumpy ride. It was a lot of stints on the DL, a lot of, just mentally, how can I fight and stand this with, just with the whole thing. I mean, it's hard to explain to someone what going through 150, 60 game schedule is in, 6 months. It's, you get in those days in August where, it gets tough. And the middle part of it is, which I, talked a lot to Tyler about is really what's going to separate you. It's just, you got to fight, and you got to, in those hard moments, and you're going to have hard moments. You're going to have some 0 for 20s probably. And the guys that were good kept working, and they seemed to get out of those moments quicker than the other ones. And, being consistent with your work ethic, having a set schedule on kind of what your routine is every day is kind of what we talk about. And I think that was, as I got older, I kind of learned, you got to have a routine, you got to have a schedule, you got to have, you got to put the work in, and eventually made it, short stint. But I think getting there, there was a ton of emotions. It was, it was almost relief, like, okay, I made it. But then there was a whole nother, you realize that, this now it really it starts to work. The game, it speeds up, and it's, so yeah, it was a great getting there. Would I love to stay there a lot longer? Definitely. But, these are stuff I can give to Tyler now, and hopefully my older son at some point, where, hey, I've been through the struggles. I've been through the good times, bad times, injuries. There's not much that my career didn't have that I can't tell him about and kind of prepare him. So that's how I look at it now. Yeah, was it the greatest? No, but I think I have all the knowledge in me now to help him along the way.
Well, when you did make it to the majors in 96, Barry Bonds was on that team, Richard Riley was on that team, Matt Williams, etc. Mark Gardner, I believe, was on that team as well, right? Did you guys ever talk about your Fresno State days?
Yep, we've talked a little bit. He had a son that was at I think it was University of San Diego, so our paths crossed as our sons played against each other here last year. It would have been, or a year and a half ago. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, definitely. Every time I see those guys, we talk about. I think I saw them at the golf tournament this year for the alumni, Fresno State. So again, anytime you have a chance to get knowledge from those guys that did it a long time, it's invaluable.